Hey, happy, what is it, Monday night on the East Coast. I don't know what day it is. I just got off an awesome call with a wonderful woman, and I wanted to jump on here and talk about something that is so important. It's about really how to avoid burnout, right? You may be in the place right now that you're feeling burned out, exhausted, drained by your work, your business, your job, your life in general. And I wanted to talk about how you can get out of it. Because I've personally been there in the burnout, for sure. I just kind of experienced that a couple of times last year and am kind of wrapping up a pretty long rest and recovery period for myself. And I want to share some insights that I got from that process of going through it myself, and also some tips and strategies that I shared with this woman that I just got off the phone with. So stick with me if you are feeling burned out, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to crash and burn totally, or you're feeling like you're constantly on the hamster wheel of having to do more things, even if it's self-imposed, right? Because we do this to ourselves a lot of the times, or we feel like we have to do these things and we don't have any sort of control in the situation. And I'm going to share with you how you can get control and avoid crashing and burning in a big old flaming pile of burnout. So I am Christine Parma, if you don't know who I am, and I help heart-centered go-getters to get out of feeling confused and stuck and overwhelmed and really get a lot of clarity around their next steps and where they are, and help them to make the mindset and shifts that they need to make and implement the smart, practical strategies to really move forward in their business or their life. You can find out more about me at christineparma.com. Hi, let's see who's watching right now. Welcome, everybody. Raul, good to see you. So, burnout. Let me ask you, if you're watching this, this live stream, if you're on live or watching the replay, are you feeling burned out right now? Click the like button or a heart, or say yes in the comments if you are, so I know kind of where you are in your journey of burnout or not burnout. Or it may be you're kind of, in a weird kind of burnout way, feeling burned out by the same things in your life. So it may not be a kind of burnout that's, hi Arlo, burnout from doing so much in your life as much as you feel burned out by just the general situation of your life, the general circumstances of your life. So if you resonate with that, let me know. And what, I'll tell you a little about my own situation, and maybe you can relate to this. So I have had a pattern of overwork, right? And a lot of online entrepreneurs, a lot of people in general have this pattern of overwork. It happens for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that Western society tells you if you're not working hard, if you're not burning the midnight oil, if you're not in the struggle, then you're lazy, right? Does anybody relate to that, the lazy thing? I know I heard it growing up, for sure. And I felt it. And I, felt like if I didn't constantly have this long to-do list, if I didn't have a project to work on, if it wasn't demanding, then I was being lazy. And first of all, nobody likes to be called lazy. But even more than that, the bigger implication is lazy is a judgment of your self-worth, of your value as a person. Does this make sense to you? You can say yes in the comments. And of course, if you have questions, or comments as we go along, go ahead and put them in the comment section. So nobody wants to feel like they're a worthless human being, right? They don't want to have, feel like they are judged by others, or judging yourself as less worthwhile, as a person, or as employee, or as an entrepreneur, as a parent, whatever that is. So it can have this tendency to keep ourselves on this kind of hamster wheel of running all the time, busy, because essentially what it comes down to is we don't want to feel the judgment. We don't want to feel the guilt or the shame that we associate with being lazy and unproductive. And that pattern of overwork will drive you towards burnout. For me, when I became aware that I had this pattern, and this is really the first step, is to become aware of the patterns that you are running and what's going, the dialogue, the inner dialogue that's going on, and also how this is being reflected in your outer world for you to be able to become aware of it. When I became aware of this, I became aware of all the situations that it had shown up in my life, just the ones off the top of my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I was doing this in school. I always had to be the A+ student. I was the overachiever. And I felt so much stress and pressure around getting the A. And if I didn't get the A on the test, A on the final grade, it's like meltdown, right? It just like destroyed me because I felt like, oh my gosh, I wasn't good enough. I didn't work hard enough. And so that's what can happen in our minds. Like, oh, well, I didn't achieve that thing that I wanted to achieve. So the solution is to just work harder. Can anybody relate to this in your minds? Like, oh, well, if I didn't achieve this thing, then I have to work harder. It's because I didn't do enough is the reason that I didn't achieve it. So it showed up for me in my school, then later in my, corporate life where I was working literally 60 to 70 hours a week. I would be at the office until 11 p.m. at night, and I would be up and out of the house at 5 a.m. the next morning. So this constant state of overwork. And what happens when you're in this pattern of overwork where you're constantly feeling exhausted? You're feeling like you never finish everything that's on your to-do list because you're putting more on your to-do list, or other people are putting more on your to-do list for you to do. And there's self-responsibility that needs to be taken around that, right? For allowing people to dictate your schedule, right? So you're in this exhaustion, and that leads to resentment of the life that you have or the job that you're in, that you're carrying out this overwork pattern in. It makes you cranky, you're exhausted, your health suffers, your relationship suffers, you get burned out. And that is no way to live, right? It sucks all of the joy out of your life. Can you relate to this? Is this making sense? Go ahead and pop a like or a heart or a comment in the comment section if this is making sense to you. And what I want to share with you are some steps on how to get yourself out of that pattern. If you find yourself in this overwork, exhaustion, headed towards burnout, and it can be a lot of different patterns that are kind of the confluence of what is leading you towards this burnout or this lack of enjoyment in your life. So I want to share a couple of steps with you about how to start really taking your life back from that pattern, start dismantling that pattern, and also injecting a lot more joy and fun into your life while you go about creating your life in a way that's more in alignment with what you really want to have. So really the first step, like I said, is awareness. You need to become aware of the patterns that you're running. Sometimes you can do this yourself, through self-reflective processes like journaling, asking yourself questions. Like if you're running this pattern of overwork, one of the questions that you can ask yourself is, what's driving this pattern of overwork? Why do I feel like I have to work 70 hours a week? And really dig into it past the answer of, well, there's so many things to do. Because and I'm here to tell you, the honest truth is, there's always more to do, right? There's always more to do. You can make a to-do list that never ends for yourself. And if you're alive, there's always more things to experience and do, right? And it's just to varying degrees of how you allow that to be in your life. So become aware of the pattern and get into the questioning around it. What's the story that I'm telling myself here? What is the feeling that is really driving this overwork pattern, for example? Me always having to do more and more and more, or make everything productive, as what came out in this conversation I just had, is she feels like even the things that she does that for enjoyment, she says, I turn them into productivity tasks. If you can relate to that, say yes in the comments. Does everything have to be productive in order for you to be okay with making the time to do it and feeling like it's worthwhile to spend your time on? That is a really tricky one. It's like, if everything has to be productive, I got to check this off the list. I used to do this with vacations. Oh my gosh. I would plan so much in a vacation, all the museums, all the places we wanted to go, all the activities, and rush around, that I was exhausted at the end of the vacation. And it was a lot less fun than if I had just relaxed into the experience and truly enjoyed, and not worried about if I saw every museum, or went to all of the great sites, or did all of the things, because I can come back. When you look at it, it really comes from a scarcity mentality, both the overwork and the productivity, because essentially what some of the underlying feeling there is that, like with the packing your vacation or making everything productive, is I don't have enough time. I'm never going to get another chance to do this. Or this is, this is my one shot. Or if it's not productive, then it's not worthwhile. And it's not worthwhile because I only have a limited amount of time and I'm wasting my life. You can kind of blow it up. But if you look at it, if you get really honest with yourself about the feelings you're having around what's driving you in like the overwork and exhaustion and driving you towards burnout, a lot of these things you'll probably discover are going on for you. So, of course, I don't know what's going on for you. Personally, it is a discovery process. I can just, share what my personal experiences are. So I'm curious, what are some patterns that you are aware of that you're running that maybe aren't supporting you having a really a lot of joy in your life, or having a life that you feel like goes with the flow or easy and is leading you kind of towards burnout? Go ahead and pop those in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. So if you're aware of any patterns, and we can obviously chat about those, and I can give you some insight. So once you become aware of the patterns that you're running, then you want to start to dismantle them. And there are a lot of processes that you can use to do that, but one of the easiest ways for you, without necessarily the help of a coach or anybody else, but that for you to start dismantling these beliefs yourself, is to insert doubt into the belief. Now, doubt is a great tool. It can be really disempowering if it's getting in the way of you doing something you want to, or tripping you up in making a transition or a shift you want to make in your life. It can also be really useful in starting to break down patterns that no longer serve you, and belief systems that are not serving you and you want to get rid of, essentially, or modify, shall we say. Because when you insert doubt into something being true, like if say, for example, you're running this pattern of overwork, and your reasoning goes, well, if I'm not working 70 hours a week, then I'm not going to get all the things done that I need to get done. And therefore, like if you're an entrepreneur, my business is going to fail. right? That could be one line of thinking. Or if you're working for somebody else, if I don't get all the things done, then they're going to fire me and I'm going to lose my job and then I won't have any money and then my family will be on the street, et cetera, et cetera. So you can really expand to see what all of the consequences are that you think will happen as a result of you not working hard, for example, and not being on this hamster wheel. So then you want to ask yourself, is this really true? So for example, if I have the to-do list that has 50,000 things on it, which as an entrepreneur you can have like 50,000 things on your to-do list all the time, is it true that if I don't get these things done today, that my business is going to fail? Or is it true that the world is going to come to an end if I don't get GDPR compliant by this Friday? That's on my radar right now. No, it's not true. Like in my example, do I want to be compliant by the 25th? Yes, I'm really working towards that goal. Is it going to happen 100% compliant? No, it's not going to happen. And I'm not going to work my butt off staying up till 3 a.m. every morning to try and get it done, because that is overwork. That is burnout. That is a pattern that I'm very consciously undoing in my own life, and have been undoing in my own life. And I have very strict boundaries around what I allow myself to do and what I don't, because I have noticed in myself that I fall back into this pattern of overwork, which leads to the resentment and the burnout, and not enjoying life in general. So start to insert doubt around the beliefs that you have around why you need to work so much or do these things, whatever those things are, that are leading to burnout. And I'm curious, pop it in the comments. What are some of the things that you do that you feel are resulting in you feeling exhausted or burned out or not enjoying life, not really enjoying the work that you're doing, feeling kind of sucked dry by all of these things? Go ahead and pop those in the comments. So once you insert doubt, then the next step is to decide, well, what do I want instead? What do I want instead? Like if I'm deciding the way I'm doing things is not sustainable. The way I'm doing things is not enjoyable. I'm, feeling so burned out and exhausted. What do I want instead? So then you have to really get honest with yourself and probably do some kind of deep diving into what it is that you desire, what's important to yourself, and what you want to create, so that what is it instead that I want. And then from a very practical standpoint, and I take people, clients through this, and also in my Passion Launch Profits program, this is part of it, is, everybody's question is, well, that's great, Christine. You can tell me that I should be doing more things to nurture myself. You can tell me that I should just, spend more time taking care of myself and going to the gym and doing the things that I love to do. But how do I do that? There's not enough time. There's not enough time to do all that. Well, I take people through the process of how you create the time for that to be in your schedule. And I'll give you the first step. The first step is to get really clear on your priorities, right? So if you look at your life, the scope of your life as, what is the whole purpose of life? This is going to get kind of big, but I'm going to keep it really short here because this can be a very, very long conversation. But what's the purpose of your life? Like if you feel like your life, like you should have enjoyment out of your life. Life should be something that you find fulfilling and you enjoy and you have fun in. Then you need to align the things that you're doing and your schedule in a way that supports that happening. And it starts with getting really clear on what your priorities are. Because most people who are feeling overworked, who are feeling exhausted, who are, on this burnout track, do not have clear priorities, or they're not actually prioritizing their real priorities, what's really important to them, because they don't feel, for some reason, they feel like they can't. Like they don't have enough time, they have obligations to others, they have to do all of these other things, and it can be a big old tangled mess that, you know, kind of gets in your way of you creating a schedule for yourself and a way of going about your life that actually works for you, is really supportive of your loved ones, your family, if you have a family, supportive of you getting things done in your business while you have the time for all of those things that are actually really, really important to you and make life worthwhile, right? So, because, you know, I'm sure you've heard it, it's like nobody, you know, who's on their deathbed ever said, gee, I really wish I would have worked more hours every week. Nobody ever says that. You know, it's like said nobody ever. People say things like, gee, I really wish I would have, you know, taken the time to go see all those places I wanted to see. Gee, I really wish I would have spent more time with my kids or my friends, or we would have gone on that vacation we wanted to go to, or gosh, I wish I would have written that book that I really had in my heart to write, or started that business that I wanted to start, or did more painting, you know, painted because it lights me up, and did all those things that I really enjoy. I wish I would have done that. That's what people say on their deathbed. So I don't think of it as morbid. I think of it as honesty and truth, you know? So now if you're somebody who is like, hey, life is about struggle, strife, hard work, and sacrifice, and not about enjoying life or having fun or making the kind of impact, you know, making a big impact while you're here and making your contribution to the world, then you're probably not watching my videos, number one. And you're not the person that I serve unless you're interested in shedding those beliefs and really transitioning into a life that you actually enjoy and have a lot of fun in. So those are the steps I wanted to share with you today. This is a live stream that was totally inspired by a conversation I had, totally unplanned. But again, you know, it's like when you feel the inspiration, you have an idea, get into action around it. You know, I hope that if you know, that you found value in what I shared, that some of what I said you can see in your own life, if it applies to you, that you're like, okay, these steps, I know some steps to take right now, Christine. You know, thank you so much for sharing it. That is my intention with doing these live streams, is that you get value from them, and it helps you to move closer and closer and step more and more into, with ease, into the kind of life you want to have. And if you are, you know, an entrepreneur in a business, the kind of business that you want to have. Because if you're an entrepreneur, your business is your life in a lot of ways, you know? It's a huge part of your life. So if you found this valuable and you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments so that I know I'm on track with providing the kind of things that you find valuable and enjoyable to watch. And of course, you can always find out more about me and how I help heart-centered people to really align with the kind of life that they dream of having and create profitable soul-aligned businesses for themselves that are fun and enjoyable as you go about building your business and making your contribution in the world. You can find out more about me at christineparma.com. And if you like this video, please share it on your Facebook timeline or tag some friends for the video, because it may just be the message that somebody needs to hear that really is, you know, that pin dropping for them. That's the turning point for them in their life, or just makes their day a lot better. They get some inspiration from it. So if you have questions or comments later as you watch the replay, leave them in the video below and I will come back and answer them. And until then, I wish you a blessed evening or day wherever you are, and I will see you soon. Take care.